Hey guys, so today I am making a video of something related to the electric power steering in I have a Prius Prime. It's a 2017. And it's not the first time I've messed with my power steering. So last time I really had it apart was in 2019, so you can see a picture that I sent Zorobyte on Discord with what I was up to. And in that case, I'll just zoom it up real quick. You can see I really had everything very disassembled. I even removed the steering wheel, so the steering wheel would have been attached here. Here's the motor that I'm really interested in though, and I'll be talking about that more. You can see that I also removed some trim pieces. So there, and there's an airbag under there. I'm gonna try not to remove so many things this time, but what I was up to last time was between this motor and the rest of the power steering, you have what's called a jaw coupling, or in my case, I was calling it a solid cogwheel is what I installed. And it has a interference fit. The interference fit makes it so that the two components, when they're combined, it makes it so there's not really any slop whenever there's movement. And so even when I first got the Prius Prime in 2017, I had looked at the technical diagrams and stuff, and I saw that little cog looking thing, and I was like, what the heck is that? That looks like a weak spot there, which would add a little delay, possibly contributing to ping pong going back and forth on the road. So you'd be kind of driving like this. As it was after installing the jaw coupling, I'm not sure if it really helped or hurt. It's kind of hard to tell because there's a lot of other factors at play. One of the factors is the steering wheel, the steer angle sensor that's in the steering wheel. Basically, so let's say this is a steering wheel. Right behind the steering wheel is like some electronics. And you can actually get let's say an improved a steer angle sensor for anywhere between, let's say, $100 to $200, depending on where you get it. So instead of replacing that though, what I did is I used the ZSS, the Zorro steering sensor, which installs at the bottom of this power steering setup. Actually, you can sort of see where it would go. This little part here, there's a cap that pops off. But that's not really the focus of what I'm going to be working on today. What inspired me to do what I'm going to be doing today is related to this. So here you can see a post from Cloud J. And I've definitely mentioned him before. Actually, so I have a bunch of YouTube videos that are kind of related. You know, you can see I had a RAV4 power steering set up in a couple of these videos. And I think I've also had some videos here, like these were Cloud J related, the magnetic mount stuff. So anyway, Cloud J, very smart person. He helped someone replace that motor on his friend's EPS. So here's a picture that he had sent me. Before he posted this in the Toyota Lexus channel, he told me about this, and I was kind of skeptical. But as it is, the motor that we're talking about is only about $100. So the trick is just finding one that will work for you. But you know, here's the picture that he sent. He tore a lot of stuff out as well, but you can see the steering wheel is still there. So that's important to note, because once you take the steering wheel off, then there can be some other issues, like not obviously not putting it back the exact same way. You might mess up some calibration somewhere. Anyway, he said that after replacing that, and you can see it circled here, that after changing it, it can turn like this. So I'll just play this here. So the fact that he sort of helped it out there makes me a little skeptical. But we'll see. So I'm optimistic, but I was kind of looking for a reason to tear back into my car anyway. So we'll see how that goes. I did schedule some time off today from work so I could do this. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of time still just working. So let's see how this goes. Let's first show you the part that I received. So here it is, and it came with these wires that were a little bit chopped, so really the wires are kind of useless. So I disconnected that, and we're just dealing with the motor here, which is held on by a couple 12mm bolts. Once again, this is like the orientation it would be in the car. The steering wheel connects to there, and so this is how it would be facing. You kind of would have to angle it out of the way a little bit, so you can see. Okay, this is the steering wheel is both telescoping as well as height adjustable, and it would rotate like this on that axis there. So removing the bolt that goes across there would allow you to sort of pull it out a little bit more. The main thing is that this bolt is a little bit tougher to get out. So I'll just take this off right now. And so you can see here's the motor that I'll be wanting to swap in. This came from a 2021 Prius, so you can see that marked here, and it's really important to have the VIN number, because the salvage yards that sell these things will tell you one thing and send you another thing. Now this one was really, like, when they shipped it, they just kind of threw it in a box with some paper padding, and so it got kind of roughed up a bit. It looks overall fine. I just noticed here it's got a little bit of a ding on this. That's really not a big deal. At least it shouldn't be. If I was really concerned, I suppose I could take this cover off and check it out. But here's where that jaw coupling goes. You can see the other side of it here. This is the part. So if I can get the solid jaw coupling that I have, that's a 3D printed part, if I can get that on, I'll be reusing that. If I can't, I'll just use this. But since it has the interference fit, it is really difficult to get on. You have to just really squeeze very hard and then tighten the bolts very carefully to bring the pieces back together. So anyway, I've got my gloves on here so that hopefully I don't get my hands all totally greasy. Sometimes you encounter sharp parts in the car, and just the extra little layer there can definitely help keep you from getting all cut up. Let me just see real quick what it looks like under this cover. Okay. Okay. And you can see the part number that I'm using here. It's 89650-47600. And what I initially saw when I was shopping on eBay was instead of 600 to 800. And then when I was trying to buy that, the seller said it wasn't even removed from the car yet. So I knew something could be a little bit fishy, because you really have to have the part off of the car to be absolutely certain this is the part number that you're getting. And then having the VIN number is also very useful. You can double check on things. Anyway, the first seller that I was working with, he was definitely kind of shady, or at least questionable. Anyway, let me just kind of see here. You can see that that would have gone here, really had no impact to anything, but you can see they shaped this, because this must be pretty close to it. But if I really was concerned about this ding, I would just force it out. I'm not concerned though. And you can see everything that's here. Looks like nothing futuristic, that's for sure. When electronics are just using really huge traces and just very macroscopic electronics, it's going to fare a lot better in automotive applications. So, and if anything did ever go wrong with this, at least I might stand a chance in repairing it. Whereas with some of the really microscopic stuff, you pretty much just have to buy a whole replacement PCB or whatever. Okay, so we've got this. I've got my car out here in the garage. I've got the temperature relatively a lot warmer than outside. It's only like 8 degrees colder in my garage than the house, because I've let the air kind of semi-equalize. I've got a couple flashlights here that I'll be utilizing. I've pulled the battery, or not the whole battery, but rather just made sure that the negative was disconnected. So you can see it's disconnected here. That's because I may be playing around with the airbag setups, and I don't need the airbag to accidentally go off. And I have all the doors open, as well as the hatch, because I want as much natural light to come in as possible. And I had the flashlights, but it helps every little bit of light that you can get from the outside, the ambient lighting. That definitely helps. I've got some tools laid out here. I don't remember exactly what I'll need. Definitely the major stuff gonna be like the 10 and 12 and probably even 14 millimeter sockets, that kind of stuff, and screwdrivers, flat and Phillips. So I've got a few things kind of set up, and I don't really plan on recording every exact moment, but I'll probably just kind of highlight some of the major steps or milestones. So first thing I'll be doing though is just removing, as you saw in the pictures before, I'll be removing like trim panel stuff. So this will probably come off, this will come off. There's another panel underneath. So yeah, got to get all the plastics off. I did vacuum the floor up earlier, and I did push the seat all the way back, and this will help maximize the chance that I have a uneventful project here, because the first time I did it, which was 4 years ago, I definitely took my time and I think it spanned like a couple days. It wasn't necessarily super hard, but there were definitely some weird things about it. Like there's some air conditioning ducting that goes underneath there for the feet, and that was very weird. And I talked to Zorobite about his experience, and it was the same as mine. So I'll be trying to do that motor replacement with as little drama as possible. And thanks for watching. The video is not over. I'm just going to pause it for now, and we'll pick up when things start looking more interesting here. So a good time for an update. I've taken several more pieces off. That includes some of these pieces that were down here by the windowsill or the door sill area. And you can see bottom piece of the steering wheel area kind of covers the steering column. So just very easy to remove that. And you can see airbag that's for the knee area. That allows me to see much more of what's going on down here. And basically this air ducting is what I'll need to deal with next, and then I'll be able to drop the steering column down, and then I'll have access to the EPS motor up there. Okay, so now I've moved the ducting to the side. It's actually kind of underneath the brake pedal now. That's achievable once you split the ducting in half. It's just two pieces that come together. You just have to split it. I also moved a little wire that was bugging me to the side, and now I'll just let you have a good view of what we have now. Okay, so since the last video, I believe some of the changes were just taking the top and bottom covers off of the steering wheel. So you see, here's the top one. The bottom one is up here. There's also the brake switch. So this just detects the brake pedal being pressed. And next to that is the single bolt that acts like a hinge when you're adjusting the height of the steering wheel. And then down here you can see once I got the 3 real main bolts out, I was able to lower this whole steering column assembly, and so you see I have access now to basically both of the bolts that hold the EPS motor on. So that'll be next. Oh yeah, I did have to I disconnected the harness basically from the steering wheel. That was just so that the steering wheel could go to this extreme angle without ripping out any wires. So that was essential. And that's about it. So I'm gonna take the EPS motor off now. Okay, as promised, I got the EPS motor off. When you have a car that's not really gotten corrosion or rust issues, then taking bolts off is actually pretty straightforward. In this case, I just had to crack loose the 2 bolts, and then they spun off by finger very easily. So you have my old EPS motor here and new one over here. I'm not sure if you can see this, but you can see the little cog wheel thing that I was talking about. It's also called a dampener. So anyway, it looks like it's intact, so I'll probably just keep that in there when I do the swap. We're actually back in my house because I wanted to take a closer look at the little cog wheel that I pulled out, and I actually took pictures of it while it was installed earlier, and I just wanted to make sure that it was still in great condition. And it actually is. It's in pretty much perfect condition. I was worried that it had some wear on it, but it's actually looking pretty good. So I'll just put some grease on it and pop it into the newer EPS motor and reverse disassembly, basically, which is actually hopefully going to be a lot easier. Starting to remember how this all went 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and I remember it wasn't fun, but after you take it apart you realize, oh, here's some shortcuts or whatever. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get this back together hopefully soon. Okay, so the EPS motor is back in, and most everything is in position right now. I just have one bolt I want to reinstall. That's going to be this bolt, and it's going to go where I'm pointing with the screwdriver. So I know it's kind of hard to see. You can actually see it maybe through here. But anyway, once I get that bolt in there, this is all going to be much more solid, and then I'll get to working on the reattaching some wires and making it at least somewhat drivable, so I can at least do a test run. Things are moving along. I've got the air conditioning duct installed, as well as the stress ball that I use to hold the TSS sensor in place. You can see I had removed the parking brake earlier. That was attached to this trim piece. Just made things easier for me. And anyway, I next need to attach the airbag. This is the connector for it, electrical connector, that yellow thing. And this is going to be pretty easy to wrap up. Okay, I've got the car all fixed up. I don't know how much you can see of that here, but everything's back together. I'm going to take it out for a spin. I might not be able to really fully assess if I have more torque or if it's driving better until I put it in experimental mode and do navigation on open pilot. So then it will really know, okay, I want to make a 90-degree turn. So that's the kind of thing I'll do in the morning when there's some daylight. But right now it's nighttime. I just want to make sure the car works. Usually after disconnecting the battery for a long time and then reconnecting it, you get a particular error that requires you to just drive around for a little while. But I'm expecting, other than that, I expect it to drive good, hopefully. And I saw a message about ICS unavailable. I'm pretty sure that is what it was that is normal after you pull the battery for a while. I'm gonna set the time real quick. Let's go for a spin. So far the steering wheel works fine, obviously. This is just manual driving, of course. I made a point of reassembling everything with the zip ties and kind of rerouted some wires and stuff so that I'd be getting rid of rattle sounds and stuff like that. And so far it's all good. I almost feel like it steers better than before. Like, it's kind of hard to describe. Maybe it's just psychological. We'll see what Open Pilot does once I get on this straight road here. Okay. So far, nice and smooth. I've always been used to a nice and smooth ride with the ZSS and my own fork. In this case, I'm running the 094 branch of mine. 095 from Open Pilot had what I felt like was some regressions, which is expected. I did give them some feedback before it was released. They didn't really do much with it as far as I know. So of course then everybody else has the same complaints about 095, where it will maybe hug one side. Anyway, not a big deal if you're just running custom fork like me. So far, nice and smooth. I'll speed it up a bit. There's a curve up ahead where on this fork and branch, when it turns right, if I'm going like 48, might be a little bit too fast for it, but let's just see what it does. It should at least complain that it's too sharp of a corner, but I just want to see what it does here. Wow, it didn't even complain. That's interesting. Normally it will beep at least a couple times if I'm going this kind of speed on that curve. This did pretty good there too. No complaining. So in Texas, there aren't a lot of curvy roads or anything like that. So usually when I'm encountering that stuff, it's when I'm going through somebody's neighborhood or whatever. Usually I'm hesitant to use Open Pilot in a neighborhood because you have kids running around, and there's going to be other obstacles like cars on the side of the road parked in a weird way or whatever. I'm going to go down maybe some of the side streets here and see what happens. I'm I'm not like super familiar with all the back streets, but we'll see if it does anything weird. So far it's just driving fantastically. Another test will be to take it around 80 miles an hour or so on the toll roads, and just see if there's any rattles or anything weird going on. So when I do the navigation on OpenPilot, it should be able to take that kind of thing on its own. Anyway, here the speed limit is 30, so I'll set it to 30. There's going to be a sharp 90-degree curve to the left, which definitely I don't expect it to be able to do, but let's just see what happens. Obviously I don't want to run off the road or whatever, so I'll just be a little bit ready for it. I feel like it would be more reasonable to take this at maybe 25, this sharp curve, so I'm going to do that. Actually, this won't go below 28, so let's see what happens here. You can see from the signage, it's a sharp 90 degrees. Yeah, that's not gonna, it's a little bit wet out. I don't want to be skidding off the road. There's gonna be another curve that I can do coming back, where that one is always an interesting test. So that'll be in another minute or so. This is just another nice straight road. It's always good to do the testing at the speed limit, because a lot of times the extra 5 or 10 miles an hour really can be enough to throw you off a road or something like that. But at sort of like a baseline, you should be able to do things at the speed limit. So this is going to have a interesting curve to the left. Sometimes it's hard to see these things at nighttime. Let's see what OpenPilot does. It had no problem there. Kind of crossed a little into the middle. This is going to be slowing to a stop, and this I really have to manually steer it here, and I'm gonna double back, where this way it's gonna have a curve that's pretty interesting. So the speed limit here is 30. Let's see what happens. This will curve to the right. And normally it would have been yelling at me. Okay. But not only would it be yelling at me normally, it wouldn't have been able to do it. It would have needed some assistance. So when OpenPilot complains take control, you know, that's just, it's got what it thinks are the limits for the car and all that. Usually you can ignore it a little bit. In fact, some people just want to silence those kind of alerts. Anyway, I can't really think of any other curves to challenge this with right now at nighttime. So far I give this at least a tentative 2 thumbs up, because with the few things that I have tested it with, it's done pretty good. And anyway, thanks for watching.